All right, welcome back to the #1 podcast in the world. And we are slowly becoming the process guys. We figure out the process behind what great people do. And today we have someone very great. We've got our head coach, Dave DeGeorge. Coach DeGeorge, welcome to the show.
Gentlemen, happy to be here.
Yes,
long-time listener, first-time guest.
Yeah, Coach DeGeorge is known about all sorts of different parts of the podcast, us getting started and kind of getting to where we are now. So this has been a long time coming for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So let's get into let's just start from the top here. Let's get a little scouting report. Height, weight, hometown, 40-yard dash time, exit velocity. Let's just get into you coming to Beloit College, you becoming the coach of Beloit College. I mean, been here, 36 years now?
Yeah, season 36 just in front of us.
Wait, how long were you waiting to tell the freshmen, I've been coaching twice as long as you guys have been alive?
I hadn't thought about that. I just think about, it's been a long time, and I think about, how much you guys, anyone on the team, how much you've learned in your lifetime.
Right.
I mean, you think about how much I've learned about baseball, how much I've learned about coaching, how much I've learned about Beloit College. Mm-hmm. As you say, it's getting close to double.
Yeah.
The amount of years that the freshmen are alive. So I've learned a lot.
Yeah. Let's just get into your mindset and coaching style a little bit, because anyone who's played for you knows that you speak and coach, very differently to people that people have played for in the past. I would say from my perspective, and I know Brody can speak on it a little more, what I've noticed is that you treat everything like it's a learning opportunity. Where has that came from?
Probably my parents.
Yeah.
You guys know my dad is a great coach and was a ridiculously amazing football coach.
Yeah.
And I was on his staff here at Beloit for 15 years, but I grew up in his house.
Right.
So it was everything. We have unbelievable family stories, right? Like, my dad was one of the things he used to tell us when we were kids: if you're not going to do something with a happy heart, don't do it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's good advice, right? But every time that comes up, we tell the story in the family of my younger brother Mike, who's the great basketball coach who's at Cal Poly now. We were fertilizing the lawn. Yeah. And Mike had a bad attitude, and my dad said, if you're not going to do it with a happy heart, don't do it. So, and Mike had to be, I don't know, maybe 10 years old.
Yeah.
So he got mad at that comment, threw the fertilizer bag down on the ground, and stormed off. Well, it broke the fertilizer bag, and a bunch of fertilizer spilled out, which meant that we ended up having a brown patch on the lawn for like 3 years after that happened. And so every time we saw the brown patch, me or my older brother Joe, who was a football coach back in the day, we'd say, geez, Mike, if you're not going to do it with a happy heart. So Mike got brutalized for years over that moment. But I think, both my parents were educators. My mom was really a career teacher. And I can't remember how old I was. I think I was out of college. She went back and got certified to teach English as a second language. And started teaching at Parker High School up in Janesville. Okay. And then ultimately, when she retired from that, she worked at the Literacy Center here in town, helping adults that were trying to learn English, and she loved it. And so she was a great teacher, and my dad is a great teacher. And so, and I think that style fits Beloit College.
Right.
Our guys, Bronny, obviously, a great guest of the show, has made it as a professional player. We've had a couple other guys, play professionally past college. But, this is not the kind of training ground to become a Major League Baseball player, right? It'd be awesome if it happened, but that's not what our purpose is. And so our purpose is that you guys love to play ball, you love to compete, you love to be on a team, and we want to make sure that everything that you do is a part of your education here. And I've always said that somebody who plays baseball at Beloit gets a better education than somebody who doesn't.
Right.
And so, that I take a little bit of pride in that, but also I have to maintain that. Yeah. And as a coach, that's not always easy. Yeah. Because I'm super selfish and I want to win. And when things aren't going well, it's really, really easy to get frustrated. Yeah. And when I get frustrated, and I would say in general, when I get emotional, I'm typically not the best version of myself. So I have to I have to kind of prepare beforehand. When I'm frustrated, I'm going to kind of deal with that and still try to deal with the team in an appropriate way or whatever it is. And, I'm like everybody else.
Oh, right.
There's a lot of days where I go home and go, I didn't handle that great or whatever, but, we're trying. That's what the purpose is.
And another thing I've noticed is that a big part of your process is you're very process oriented. You're very organized. Golvey would describe it as like, you're a type A guy, organized, system, process. And baseball is such a game that is so like, it's really a roller coaster, and the trick to it is staying like level headed. What's been some of your keys to like, fighting stress and staying in the moment, being where your feet are in times when like our plans and our system kind of goes downhill?
Yeah, it's really hard. I can remember many years ago, Ryan Caveney, who's back coaching with us now, when the Cubs were on the threshold of winning the World Series, I texted him and something like 4 more outs.
Yeah.
And he sent me what was clearly an angry text back, never count outs.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, what an insight into, this great athlete that we had and great performer that he wasn't looking forward. In that moment, even as a fan of the Cubs, he was thinking we have to execute the next pitch. And I'll confess to you guys, I count outs.
Yeah.
I'm always, kind of thinking, okay, but I think it's okay to do that stuff, but you can't let that become the dominant part of your concentration.
Yeah.
The dominant part of your concentration still has to be, hey, I've got to execute on this thing. So, I read a lot. As you guys know, I talk about golf all the time. Did a pop-in with the team yesterday for 5 minutes and brought golf up. You guys are going to be like, when you graduate, I'm never going to listen to golf stuff again. But I think golf is similar to baseball in that in baseball you have to get all the outs.
Right.
You can't stall.
Right.
There's no way that you can run the clock out. And in golf, I've had tons of golf rounds where I was playing great, and with 2 or 3 holes to go, it just evaporated on me, and I lost my concentration, or I did a bad job, or I hit one bad shot, and then that turned into a terrible score on a hole. Because I didn't recover well. So I do think sports like baseball and golf teach you that you really have to focus on the thing that's right in front of you and just execute one thing at a time. Yeah. And don't get too far ahead of yourself. You don't ever have it made. You can't be ahead by enough. Yeah. And you're really never out of it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that just years and years of experience have kind of taught me that. But it's not easy, and there's no magic pill that if you just do this, it keeps you in the moment. It's a constant fight to kind of stay in the moment.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
You know who Victor Hovland is?
Yeah.
I was asking people at lunch yesterday, like, if they know who he is, and they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. But he said something in an interview after the PGA Championship last year that, like, literally I use every day in baseball, at least in the fall. And he said, see it, feel it, do it. And so to me, that means, like, see a spot on the field where I'm looking to go, feel what I need to do to get it there, and then go execute it. And that's been my big cue ever since. I mean, when I heard that over the summer, I was like, I got it.
Yeah, it's good advice. There's a book that was turned into a movie called 7 Days in Utopia. And it's about a PGA Tour golfer who, like, loses it. Yeah, and he's no good, and he's lost his concentration. He's just out driving, and he comes across this course out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. This course is a cow pasture. I mean, it's not nice. It's actually horrible. And there's this old guy there. It's his course, and what he teaches this guy is see it, feel it, trust it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's a very similar concept. Right. Maybe Hovland has read the book or seen the movie. I don't know, but. In the in the book, they talk about the golfer wrote SFT on his golf glove, and before every shot, he would look at his golf glove, and it would remind him, see the shot he wanted to hit, take a practice stroke and feel it, and then step up and trust that he was going to be able to do it. Yeah. I think that's super good advice, and routines like that. One of the hallmarks of sports psychology is routine. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to take the second shot, your second shot of the day isn't going to be any different than your last iron shot on the 18th hole.
Yeah.
Your process is going to be the same.
Yeah.
Because if your process isn't the same and you're thinking, oh my God, I can win the tournament or whatever,
Right.
that pressure's not good.
No.
What happens to your body when you start feeling pressure? And I've felt it playing
me.
some tournament golf. The outcome is bad.
Yeah.
I've experienced some bad
Right.
outcomes. So it's a process of trying to get there. And I don't think you ever have it figured out. You're always going to have moments where you get pulled back.
Yeah.
But, if you keep working at it, you can get better.
Yeah, and obviously on this show, we're super real, and we talk about all our experiences, and no one knows us better as players than you do. And, I talk a lot about how, it's a weird topic to talk about, but it's like last year, the amount of like pressure that I would feel when I was like playing, and it was so interesting, like how differently I see the game now. I see the game now as we're playing to win, and we're having fun. Last year, I was so new to the team, and there's so many different circumstances I could go on and on about, but I wasn't focused. I was thinking about those external things, and I didn't have a process that was going into what I was doing. And the way that you explain these scenarios resonate with me so much that I don't I just see the game so much differently now than how I used to before I came here. It's really crazy.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's helping. And I always try to, you guys have probably heard me say things like this. I want the team to play like you guys all played when you were 10 in your backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
You're making diving catches.
Yeah.
If you mess one up, you don't care. You just get ready for the next
Yeah.
rep. And that's really hard to do. And for all of us, right, the pressure is all internal. You guys hear me joke at practice and say things like, oh, well, I'm going to call up to Commons or Hamilton.
Yeah.
And say, don't feed this kid tonight because,
Yeah.
he messed up. Obviously that's not really going to happen. They're still going to feed you. Your friends are still going to be your friends. Your parents are still going to love you. And we all put pressure. I mean, think about a guy who's trying to make it in professional baseball or on the PGA Tour, and their livelihood is at stake. That's a different. We're not facing that kind of pressure, right? For us, we just all want to be good. We want to be successful, and so that internal pressure sometimes is enormous. And I think being able to change your sort of viewpoint and remember that you are doing this for fun, you do enjoy it, and the window's short.
Right.
I mean, this is something you guys, I'm not trying to put a bummer on the podcast here, but a year from now, you're going to miss this like crazy.
I know.
That first year out of college is kind of brutal.
Yeah.
Because you go from having a ton of freedom in college,
Yeah.
you're around your best friends every day, playing ball, you're kind of setting your own schedule, and then all of a sudden the next year you've got this job and you're there all day, and then you come home, you're exhausted, you're trying to put some food together. They don't make it, no one makes the food for you.
Yeah.
And you're not around people your age very often.
Yeah.
It's really tough. So I think to enjoy this window is the important thing. And one of the great things is that lots of people have similar experience that you guys have had, where the 4 years is a journey, it's an arc, right? And a lot of times when people start to figure it out, it's typically kind of in their junior year.
Yeah.
And it's not just a baseball thing, it's a school thing, it's a social thing. They start to figure it out, and then the rest of the time goes by so fast. You're like, wait a minute, I just figured this out, and now it's finished. But, to me, that means the experience has been a success. If people have that kind of evolution over their 4 years, that means a lot of people at Beloit College are doing a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
To create an environment where people can have that growth and figure it out. So that's the kind of thing that's kept me here for so long.
Yeah. And that's such an interesting thing because, this is only my second year here at Beloit, and obviously I've had other experiences, but it's it almost like that whole year was just, such a learning curve and process for me, and it was so crazy just, looking back on it, I knew nothing back then, and, now it's starting to make sense to me, and now it's, the second I started thinking about our team as if we're 10 years old playing wiffle ball in the backyard, it's man, it just changed so much for me. It's when you say we want to play in these close games, we want to be up at the plate, that was such a big mindset shift to me that I even was able to apply a little bit towards the end of last year of I remember being up at the plate and we were playing an elimination game against Grinnell, and I was up with bases loaded, 1 out, and we were up by 1. And I'm like, man, I got to come through here. But then I was like, no, like, I want to be in this spot. Like, I want to be the guy that's up with the bases loaded. And I think we get away from that so much. Just as players with everything we're doing, I mean, we're older now, and we got college to worry about and jobs and stuff. But it's like, in that moment, you got to forget about it and say, like, this is what I came here to do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean add pressure. It just means I'm so lucky to have this opportunity to be up right now.
Yeah.
It's just like you say, like, just because I'm up in this opportunity doesn't mean I need to get a hit. I just want this chance. Like, I just want to be up.
Yeah, you just got to trust everything you've learned
Yeah.
the last
really.
15 years playing baseball.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, like, bases are loaded. Like I want to be up. Like, Connor Vogel would be great to have up right now.
Yeah.
But, like, it's me. I'm up, and, you know, I'm going to do whatever I can.
And different things work for different people.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know, it's been a million years since I played, but there's still certain things I remember clearly. And whenever I was in those situations, I turned it into a one-on-one competition against that pitcher.
Yeah.
I used to get myself psyched up like,
Yeah.
I'm getting this guy.
Yeah.
And it was funny because my son, who is a great pitcher here for us, he was the angriest pitcher in the history of baseball. And, you know, I used to think, you know, this kid's going to flame out. You know, I mean, you know, he's just so aggressive and emotional about what he did. But he turned everything into a confrontation between him and the batter.
Yeah.
That worked for him. I didn't
Right.
teach him that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe, you know, was it genetics? You know, I don't know. But it's interesting how different people are going to face those things in different ways, but everybody's got to figure out what works for them.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. I guess we can. Well, let's talk a little bit about defense real quick. Brody has really like changed the way I think about defense, and it's a big reason that we do the podcast together because we've kind of like swapped skill sets. Like I've been able to give him a little bit of like my networking, analytical thinking kind of skills. But he's been able to give me some of his, like, game time, like, dog mentality. And the way that we would talk about it over there is kind of just, like, just want the ball hit to you. Mm-hmm. Like, if someone hits a ball up the middle, like, I'm going to go take that away. It doesn't mean you're going to do it every time. It just means that, like, if someone hits it over there, like, there's a chance that I could go there and make that play.
Yeah.
You know?
In my opinion, if you're expecting the ball and you want the ball hit to you, you're going to make the play.
Yeah.
99 times out of 100.
And it was like the way that you made plays was just so effortless. Like, I know like last year my biggest struggle was probably on defense, and it's because I wasn't like I didn't want to be the one who messed up. And then this fall it was like a complete shift for me. It was like, man, like there's a runner on second and third. Like I want the ball hit to me so we can get out of here, you know. And that was probably the biggest thing that you taught me. And it was like, wow, if you just want this, say that I trust it, and go do it. It's like. That made the game so much more fun.
Yeah.
Like, this fall was so fun for us.
Yeah.
Like.
This was definitely my favorite fall.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, I've only had 2 here, so, I mean, this one was a lot more fun, by far. There's also something different to it about, like, last year I was new and trying to just fit in and meet all the guys. And this year it's like, you know, I've got a lot of experience now, and I know what it takes, and I'm kind of trying to set an example. So I think that kind of flies a little bit into it. But, yeah, we had a fun fall.
Yeah, it was great. Well, they don't call Brody Broad Show.
Yeah, for nothing.
For no
Yeah.
reason. He puts on a show when he's got that glove on his hand.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I mean, it speaks to confidence.
Yeah.
We can all see his confidence is sky high. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's huge. There's no replacement for that. And you guys have heard me talk about players of the past. We had a great second baseman years ago. His name was Scott Slabowski.
Yeah.
And I used to say that Scotty played second base the way Walter Payton ran with the ball.
Yeah.
And it was that same idea of I'm going to make every play. Mm-hmm. You know, hit it to me. There's no way that I can't make the play.
Yeah.
Nobody makes all of the plays. But if you have the mentality that you know, there's no pop-up you can't get to.
Yeah.
There's no ground ball you can't get to, right? There's no throw you can't make.
Yeah.
If you have that approach, I like your chances. And Brody definitely plays that way. And
Right.
one of the things, you know, as a listener of the podcast here, it illustrates one of my favorite things about Beloit. You guys play the same position.
Yeah.
And I've seen this at Beloit College for my entire career. Mm-hmm. Guys who play the same position that are competing with each other, right, for playing time. end up being best friends.
Yeah.
And I love that. You
Right.
know? And for your point of we bring different strengths
Yeah.
to the team.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the thing about being a great team. You think about last year's team, and you think about, you know, some of the guys who made huge contributions, Riley Ponio,
Yeah,
RJ
yeah.
Pozar at the end of the year. You know, those guys were not everyday starters, but they
Right.
were huge down the stretch.
Yeah.
And you know, they brought work ethic, they brought toughness, they, you know, all those things. They brought those every day. And they didn't always get a chance in the game.
Right.
But, you know, it reminds me of my favorite Lincoln quote. And, you know, I've got it close. I'm not going to tell you this is the exact words. It's probably a close paraphrase. But at one time, Lincoln said, I'm going to work and I'm going to prepare. And if my chance comes, I'll be ready.
Right.
And I've had a lot of ball players over the years that I think that's what they did.
Yeah.
And when their chance came, boy, they stepped up.
Yeah.
You know? And that as a coach, that's one of your favorite
Right.
things.
You know, it's like for us, it's been like, yeah, we play like the same position, but I also think that there's just like we just contribute in different ways. Like we have different skill sets, and I think that's what kind of led us to start this podcast. Was that hey, we think differently. Like I think this could work because if you have a bunch of guys that think the same way, you're never going to disagree.
Yeah.
And it's
You
like
can't bounce ideas off of each other.
yeah, it's like we want to disagree. Like we want to shake things up. Like I want to see what I can do outside of my comfort zone. And for me right now on the baseball side, it's like, hey, like I'm totally open to moving positions. Like I just want to help the team win, and that's what I'm, you know, prepared to do. And it's like, however I can fit into a new spot to get us going and use my skill set, like that's gonna be how we win. And I'm totally like excited to do that. So.
Yeah, and it's, you know, depth is important.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Because people go through highs and lows. We have injuries. We
Right.
have, you know, and so it's not some of our best games and some of my funnest games are games where, you know, we play 17, 18 guys.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and you're like, that's awesome. Lots of people contributed.
Yeah.
We're using people in ways that where their strengths are and things they're ready for, and that's always a lot of fun.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about our new coaching situation. So we lost a longtime guy, Coach Golvey,
Yep.
but we gained Ryan Caveney.
Yeah.
How big is that for our
Yeah,
program?
it's huge. I mean, you know, all my references, as you guys know, are way too old. You know, I'm still talking about Reggie Jackson. And, you know, but I said it's the whole, you know, change here. And remember, Ryan Caveney coached here before Golvey, right?
Yeah.
They were teammates with each other. When Rye graduated, I hired him right away. He coached here for 3 years. He helped me recruit Verone, O'Leary,
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Tiger.
wow. I did not
right?
know that.
So now you're kind of going, oh, well,
Yeah.
you know, that's pretty impressive. You
Yeah.
know? So he helped me put together the best teams in the history of the program, and maybe the best team in the history of the Midwest Conference.
Right.
And so, you know, at that time, the job wasn't full time. We were paying him, you know, like $10,000 or
Yeah.
something, and he had to substitute teach to keep his the lights on at his apartment. So he was subbed every day.
Oh my God.
I think he still has PTSD from the experience. But he got an opportunity to go to Millikan, and they were going to have him coach, and he could get his MBA at the same time. So it was kind of a trade, one of those deals. So he did that for 2 years, got his MBA, and then he got a full-time assistant job at Rose-Hulman, an engineering school in Indiana, and he'd been there ever since. So when Rye left here, I picked up the phone and called Golvey.
Yeah.
And they had played with each other, right? And so, you know, I wanted somebody who knew the system. I wanted somebody who had picked what we are and had gone through the experience. I didn't want to bring somebody in from the outside that I had to completely teach them, because then I figured, man, it'd be 3 years before they really get what the heck we're doing and why we're doing it. And Golvey was moving, as I called him, he was in his car because he was moving from St. Louis to Chicago.
Yeah.
He was going to move in with a buddy there and just kind of figure out a job and do something. He'd been teaching and coaching down in St. Louis, but he just kind of thought it's time for me to do something else and take the next step. So I called him and offered him the position.
Yeah.
And I think he went and spent a couple of days with his buddy in Chicago, and then he came to Beloit. You know?
That's so
and
cool.
he got the opportunity this fall to move back to St. Louis. His parents are still there, and his brother's there, and his brother and the brother's wife just had a baby. So, you know, there's a pull there. And so Mike decided to take an opportunity to take a different coaching job. And, of course, I immediately called Ryan Caveney and said, you know, do you want to come back? And so, you know, we talked about Rye wasn't going to take another job. His next move was going to be the head coach.
Yeah.
And so this was a little bit of a complicated situation. There was no reason for him to make a lateral move, right? And he had already learned from me. Then he had an opportunity to learn from the head coach at Milliken and the head coach at Rose. So, we brought him back as associate head coach. So we're partners in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And, somewhere, down the line in the future, Rye's going to be the coach here.
Yeah,
And
right.
I think that's awesome for our program. And, so getting back to the old references, I say that this Caveney to Gulvey to Caveney would be like having Joe Montana, then Steve Young, but then getting a better version of Joe Montana back after Steve Young left,
Yeah.
So you guys can Google those guys
Yeah.
later and find
Yeah.
out who they were. But it's a pretty good
Yeah.
it's a pretty good group. So thrilled to have Rye. Rye and Mike could not be more different from each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
shockingly
yeah.
different.
Yeah.
I love them both.
Yeah.
Their capabilities are through the roof.
Yeah.
But they also show, and I think it's a good thing for our guys to see, there isn't one way to do something. You can do something in radically different ways and be successful. And what I think that both Mike and Ryan also illustrate is they just are who they are. They're not trying to be something. They're just authentic. And the reality is that people respond to people who are authentic.
Yeah.
And both of those guys are that way. And I think that's why the players that have played for those guys love them.
Yeah.
Because, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that makes
Yeah.
them great recruiters and makes them great coaches on the field.
I love Gulvey, but I'll preface and say that, but I love Caveney. I'm so happy
Yeah.
we have him. I think what Caveney is as a coach speaks to me more than what Gulvey was as a coach. And I'm not trying to take a shot at Gulvey.
No.
Just saying that sometimes when you get new eyes on you, it just works better. As soon as Caveney got here, I just felt what he brought to the team. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing.
Well, the one thing about Rye is he's very calm.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing in baseball, too.
Yeah.
Baseball's not, let's run
Oh,
out there
maybe
and
that's what it
smash him.
is.
He's incredibly calm. Nothing rattles the guy. And so he kind of creates that sort of air. But
Yeah.
he has when he was on the team, you guys know how we have the player meetings, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
during the player meetings, I'll say to every guy, who you hanging out with?
Yeah.
Who are your close friends?
Right.
When Coach Caveney was on the team, 2/3 of the guys on the team said, well, my closest friend is Ryan.
Wow.
And, there's no way that could be true, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Ryan couldn't be best friends with,
Yeah.
more
With
than
everyone,
half the team.
yeah.
But he is so authentic as a person that he does care about people, and he is a good friend to people. And people recognized that. He wasn't just a good time guy, here or there. It was like, hey, if you really needed a friend, they knew Ryan would be there. And that's something that comes through in recruiting as well, So, and I think anytime you have a change, and I told you guys this when the change happened, there's going to be 3 reactions. One reaction is, oh no, I loved Gulvey, he was perfect for me, and this is going to be a little bit harder for me. The other reaction is, hey, this new one I actually respond better to, right? This is a better situation for me. And then the third group is, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's equal thirds, but there's always those 3 things, and it doesn't really matter what the change is. You're always going to have those things.
Yeah. No, and yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing Caveney said to me in my meeting with him was I'm always at a 6. And I was like, I really like that because, with Gulvey, he was a very high energy guy, but for as many times as he was up here, he was down here too. And when he was down here, it was when I was not playing well. And I'm not saying that it was his fault that I wasn't playing well, but Rye's calmness and the way he approaches the game really gives me a lot of external confidence. I don't quite know how to explain.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's been hard for me to articulate what Caveney is like. It was a little hard for me to articulate it as a player as well. I've said this many, many times. He's the most impactful athlete I've seen at Beloit College in 50 years.
Wow.
Is he the best athlete? Nope.
Yeah.
Is he maybe even, the best player, in all the sports? Probably not.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's really, really good.
Yeah.
but most impactful, right? I never saw any other athlete at Beloit College put the team on their back and win a championship in the manner in which he did.
Yeah.
And he did it selflessly.
Yeah.
The guy has no ego. It's
Yeah.
absolutely unbelievable.
Right.
And that for some reason, that just comes through to people. And so people are drawn to that. People perform well around him. People want to do well, sort of
Yeah.
because of him. So there's something special about him that you don't pick up in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You got to be around him for a while.
Yeah.
But once you spend time with him, it's an amazing
Yeah.
feeling that you get.
One thing I can like speak to on that is just when he was thrown as BP and stuff, you have this like calmness and you have this like execution that you sometimes like don't really are able to articulate. But and then sometimes you can have these like great conversations with him. But then in the way that you would describe him as he's not very warm, you could see him like in public or in passing and go, "Hey, what's up, Coach Caveney?" And he'll be like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little quiet. I would say that the number of words spoken
Yeah.
between me and Ryan since he's been here probably equaled 2 days with me and Ryan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's different, but he's really easy to be around. I mean, I'm in his office a lot
Yeah.
because my office moved and I'm
Right.
in a different building on campus. But I'm over at the Sports Center all the time. And I just set up shop in his office, and we can both work in there, independently, and just have
That's
no
awesome.
problem. It's a calm area, so
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I also kind of felt like in the player meetings this year, they were a lot more like relaxed and maybe like what I'm saying is I just had a better fall. But I just think that like this dynamic works really well. And I'm just excited about that. Like
Me too.
I'm
I'm really excited for winter ball.
I'm excited for the season.
Well,
It's
we're
gonna be
just
fun.
super lucky. I mean, when you think about that, when I was able to get Ryan on the staff, that was amazing. And then when we got Mike, I mean, just absolutely amazing. We would not have had the success we had in that run without Mike.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But now we get Ryan back.
Right.
And then you think about everybody else that's been a part of the coaching staff.
Yeah.
These guys, Coach
Yeah.
Miz and Coach P, and now we got Coach Winter, and we got my dad who's got 4,000 years of
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
And
4,000.
it's really just an absolutely unbelievable coaching staff
Yeah.
of guys who know how to teach, they know baseball, and they treat the guys great.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that makes the experience so positive for people is the connection to the coaches is special.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the line of like, this guy has forgotten more about baseball than you guys will ever know?
Yeah.
You should use that with Coach Ed like at some point in the season.
Yeah.
Like if we're doing bad and he says something, he's like, "Hey, listen up to him. He's forgotten more about baseball than you guys will ever know." I think that'll be good.
It's kind of funny, as a football coach, pretty tough and demanding dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys really don't see any part of that
Yeah.
personality. He's really evolved into
Yeah.
a calm, level-headed baseball coach.
Yeah.
But in football, there was you had to be on your game whether you were playing or coaching.
Yeah.
I always tell the story that. One time I went into his office and I said on Thursday and Friday, my job in football was to break down the film for the team we were going to play the following weekend. So like all day Thursday and Friday, I'm working on, let's say Rippin'.
Yeah.
And it's just pounding in my head because I've
Right.
watched hours and hours of film. And then, but the next day, Saturday, we're playing Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
So then I had to kind of get back into Lawrence mindset. So I stopped by his office one time. I think it was a Friday, and I said, "Hey, what time are we leaving tomorrow?"
Yeah.
And he had papers all over his desk, and he was busy and everything going. He looked at me and he said, "That's why I gave you a sheet." And so I just kept walking, And I laugh now, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I say he calls me almost every day to ask me what time practice is. And as you guys know, it's the same time.
It's the same time
every day.
every day.
I'm like, hey, at the commercial on
yeah.
Jeopardy, that's when you leave the house.
Yeah.
But he does a great job, and we've had an unbelievable time. I mean, to think about it, I was his assistant for 15 years,
Yeah.
and I think this is going to be his 20th year coaching
Wow.
baseball. So for the two of us to be partners in our passion that what we've done with our life. I mean, who gets to do that?
No.
That's amazing.
Really special.
I know my dad better than, maybe almost any kid on the planet, would have an opportunity to know their dad. So we really care about each other a lot, and it's been an incredibly lucky thing that this worked out for us to share these experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think, like, every time one of us talks to Ed before an at-bat, it's just, like, automatic double or, like, automatic good at, like, I shouldn't say double, I should say quality at-bat. He just has a way of getting across to us a message that relieves so much pressure. And it's like, I remember he said something to me one time last spring of, like, Jordan, there's so many fielders out there, you can't even control whether you get a hit or not. Just go hit the ball.
Yeah, I was just about to say, he's almost like a mental health coach. For some of us,
he's like a baseball Yoda.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's like the perfect way to put it. But yeah, like if anything's going wrong, he'll start talking, and then everyone's attention just right on him because we know that he's got all the wisdom in the world, and so I think that just helps us so much.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit just about expectations for this team, leadership on this team, like what you see differently from last year versus this year, and just what you're looking forward to seeing out of this team.
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell right now. I think in the fall, it's pretty clear. We have a lot of good players.
Oh, right.
There are good players all over the place. Mm-hmm. And when you kind of say, well, how does this team compare to the teams in the past? Where are we going to be? I don't know that we have three guys out there like Ferrone and O'Leary and Kiger, right? But we didn't last year either. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes about the depth and the strength of the overall roster as opposed to three superstars in the lineup at the same time. I think we're going to be great on defense.
Oh, yeah.
I think that our starting pitching is going to be good. And, I don't think it's everybody likes to praise their own guys, but I think everybody in the league would probably say the best pitcher in the league coming back is Schweit.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think any team would argue with that.
You can't argue with that.
We have arguably the best pitcher in the league. The thing that we're going to have to do from just a personnel standpoint is obviously we lost two great pitchers at the back end. So, Harvey Pena set the all-time Midwest Conference record for saves.
Right.
So you lose a guy like that, you typically aren't going to have another guy to plug in that can do that. And then we lost Madden MacArthur, who after just 1 year at Beloit got an opportunity, got a D1 scholarship. So, that obviously means he was pretty talented. So, to lose those two guys, we don't have two guys like them to just plug in. But we've had that before, right? There was no way that we could have replaced Ferrone. There was no way we could replace O'Leary. No way we could replace Kiger. Yet we just kept on having good teams.
Yeah.
And so we did that by, it's like the scene in Moneyball where they're trying to replace, who was it? Was it Giambi? Is that who they were trying to replace?
Talking about at first base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they were saying they were going to use three players to replace him in the aggregate, right? And in a way, that's what we're trying to do as well. We can't have back-end relief pitching as dominant as those two guys are, but can we be better overall defensively? Yes. Can we have a more sound and strong offensive lineup 1 through 9? Yes.
Yeah.
Can our starting pitching be maybe a little bit better and a little bit more consistent? Yes. Can we do so? We may not be as strong in some areas as we were, let's say, last year, right? But we can be stronger overall. And you guys have seen our whole philosophy is don't make mistakes. Make people earn everything.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to make the Sports Center caliber play.
Right.
But the reality is the Sports Center caliber plays happen with the good teams and the bad teams. They only count for the good teams, really, because you did all the right stuff up until that point.
Yeah.
The bad teams walk people, they make errors, then some guy makes a diving catch. Who cares? They're down 7-1.
Yeah.
But if you do all the right stuff, that great play that somebody makes on our side, that's pretty exciting and a momentum builder and all those things. So it really comes down to doing the right stuff. So my expectation is that this team is going to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
And, I think that if we'll really get focused on the things that do make the difference between winning and losing, and obviously, as you guys know, we talk about that all the time, I think we're going to have a chance to win a bunch of games.
Yeah. I think one thing on defense that really helped me a lot was when you guys would tell me, like, don't worry about any of the flashy plays or any of the tough ones. Just go make every routine play. Yeah. And as soon as I just, set my focus on, okay, if I get a ground ball right to me, that's an out, then it started to open up for, I see a ball, like 5 steps to my left, and I'm like, I can go make that, and I had the confidence to go do that. And I think it's just a testament to just make the routine plays, just do what's asked of you, be really good at a couple different things. Like for me, it's like I'm going to be really good at getting on base. I'm going to see a lot of pitches. I'm going to make every routine play. That's going to be what's expected of me when I'm in there.
Yeah, you guys ever heard the saying, any idiot can handle a crisis?
Never
No.
Okay, so yeah, it's a saying. I didn't make it up.
No,
promise.
I believe it.
And I'm not sure that it's 100% true, right?
Yeah.
But the second part of that saying is it's the day-to-day that really matters.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, right?
Right.
I mean, you guys, if you want to work with somebody who did an amazing job in that one time when there was a big problem, but is a pain every day outside of that, you probably don't. Mm-hmm. You probably want to work with that person that you're like, boy, day in and day out, that person, we can count on them. They're going to be around. They don't make mistakes. They show up when they're supposed to be there, right? And there's enough people available when there's a crisis, but you need the day-to-day, and that's the same thing.
Right.
No strikes. Play great defense on routine plays, right?
Yeah.
Don't make mistakes on the bases.
Yeah.
All those things. If you do that stuff, you put yourself in a great position to be successful.
Got to win the freebie war.
Oh, yes. Yes. One thing that I like that you do that I've, applied to my life is leveraging your experiences. And I don't know if that's the exact words that you would use it, but, I mean, you said it yesterday, and that's what kind of reminded me of, like, we've got a lot of pressure coming up with finals and tests and whatever we have. But it's like we have experienced that before. Like, we've played in elimination games last year. I know what it feels like to have your back against the wall in an 0-2 count with runners in scoring position in an elimination game. I can leverage that to these tests I'm about to go take.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I stole that from my dad. My dad used to talk about that back in the day. But it really is true. You can take that's the concept of the style of education that's taught at Beloit College. Mm-hmm. Take something that you've learned in one setting and be able to apply it somewhere else. And that's an amazing concept in education. Beloit College didn't make that up, right? I mean, that goes back to the ancient Greeks, and then in our country, it's Harvard and Yale and, into schools like Beloit. But, that it really is a good way to think about things. And you guys know the pressure of finals is legit.
Yeah, it's
You're
real.
tired, you got a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of kids who give up at some point. Mm-hmm. They're like, that's the best I can do. And as an athlete, you guys know you can go a little bit further. Last year, we won 3 9-inning games against 2 terrific teams on the same day.
Yeah.
I mean, we never left the dugout. You know what I mean? And that was unthinkable.
Right.
Think about how long a day 2 9s is. 2 9s is brutal. After 2 9s, you can barely stay awake in the bus on the way home.
Yeah.
And we played 3, right? And not only played them, but we won all 3.
Right.
And so everybody who played on that team, anytime that they have a challenge in their life, they've got something they can draw on to say, I can do hard things. I can do tough things. I can do things that most people can't do. And if you apply that to your finals, I like your chances of turning in some great, papers, projects, really being prepared for the sit-down test. And I just like to remind guys of stuff like that because it's important.
Mm-hmm. It's the same thing we do on this podcast. It's like everything that you have to, think about how many things you have to do right to square up a ball or field a ground ball, make an out, get a hit, whatever. Like, all those things that you have to do them, we can apply to this podcast as well. It's like we can go out and put quality content, make good connections, and put out some entertainment for people with the same skill set that we use in baseball. So it's like this for us. We're learning a lot of other things while we do this, and that's why we're doing it. But it's also like we wouldn't be able to do it if we didn't have that process that we used on the field, and that's what makes us so successful so far while doing this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, and that's why I say people who play baseball at Beloit get a better education than people who don't.
Yeah. It's been really interesting, just like all the things that I've learned throughout this. But what are some of like your favorite things that you've learned throughout like the past couple seasons, just coaching kids and whatnot?
Well, for me, I think it's important to have great people around you, right? There's no what's been great about the last handful of seasons is that it really has been a team effort.
Yeah.
There have been different people at different times that came through, different personalities, guys that were, critical in practice, but maybe played a smaller role in the game. People, last year, just think, you guys play second base. How many people started a game at second base last year? I think it was at least 4.
Yeah.
And that, so a lot of guys contributed, and I think that's important. And I guess one of the things that I think is a strength of our team and something that I am really, really proud of is that we have put together a message in recruiting that's attracting a certain type of person. And it's a type of person that fits Beloit College really well and meshes with each other really well. I mean, think about you two guys. You grew up really physically far apart, right? Have different backgrounds, but you've become great friends in this environment. Mm-hmm. And I think that because of the kind of people that we attract, we're all around folks within our baseball program that enrich each other's lives. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I'm just thankful. I'm grateful. That the guys that I've been able to coach with, that coaching staff is ridiculous. And we haven't even talked about Slav yet. Shout out to Slav if he's listening. I think Slav got a shout out in Bronny's.
He did.
I think I remember that. So another shout out to Slav. And then, the players on the team. I can't tell you how much joy it brings me to work with you guys and see you guys develop as ball players, as people, and watch the friendships that develop. And so, to me, I take away from it that I'm proud of this thing that I have worked so hard to create, and it's taken my entire adult life, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't a quick project.
Yeah.
But I'm also feel lucky and fortunate that I get to be a part of it. And, there's a lot of people out there that work their tail off, and sometimes you don't get the benefit of the work that you've done. I know I felt that early in my career. I felt, man, I'm working hard. I'm giving this everything. And we didn't quite have it yet.
Yeah.
And I think that part of it was, I was developing and evolving. I think part of it, quite honestly, part of it is just luck.
Yeah.
And so you when things do go your way, I think there's a thankfulness. It's weird. I remember hearing interviews of people who'd accomplished something great, and their first reaction was, I'm humbled by this. And I remember sometimes hearing that and going, what are they talking about? I didn't quite understand it. And then when we started to have a ton of success, I kind of started to feel that way. I started to feel grateful. I started to feel like, this thing was kind of big, and I was kind of a small part of it. And it's an interesting thing how that happened. So I would just say it's been a great experience for me, and I'm proud of the part that I played, but feel so fortunate to have been around, you guys and the other guys and the coaches. It's been amazing.
Yeah. One thing that's been like a big theme that's been talked about recently is luck. Just like we talked about it in our econ class, like your social economic status. Yeah. A lot of it's just luck. It's what you're born into. It's because you become who you're around. But I do see it a little bit that way of like when things start to work out, a lot of it is just luck. Like for us with our show, it's like the guests that we've gotten is kind of just like circumstance, the situations we've fallen into, marketing wise. I mean, for like the last call Beloit thing, we played a little part in helping market it. And it's like we got so many new followers like just yesterday because of it, and it's just lucky. Like we just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I tell a lot of freshmen, like guys who like want to break into the lineup, like a lot of playing is just luck. Like coming into college as a freshman or a sophomore, and your spot being open is just luck. Yeah. A guy graduating.
You think last year, like Riley and RJ went nuts at the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. And I mean, see, anybody who watched that would easily say, without those guys, there's no way you win the championship. They were as central to winning the championship, even as Ben, okay?
Yeah.
And what Ben did was ridiculous. But those guys were central, right? Mm-hmm. Some people might look at that and go, man, why didn't those guys play the whole time? They should have been playing all 4 years. Well, maybe, right? Maybe the coaches missed that. But maybe it was also just that was going to be their time, and that they'd worked hard and they were prepared, and the tough times that they went through and the frustration of not playing as much as they wanted to had them, it kept them working. And that's a difference in character, right? sometimes when people don't get what they want, they say, "Oh, I've lost the love of playing." And not really. You're not actually playing, and you're frustrated, and you're trying to pull yourself out of that situation. Those two guys just kept grinding.
Yeah.
And by doing that, when they did get their chance, as Abraham Lincoln talked about, they were ready.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing in the world.
Right. What would you say are some things that like some people may not totally understand about some of your philosophies?
I don't know. My dad says to me sometimes, "I know what you were saying, but the guys didn't." So that's kind of that's a funny, because he could see kind of the looks on their faces about it a little bit. Sometimes I worry. I talked to you guys this year about everybody dreams about being the tennis player who has the overwhelming serve and hits the cross court thing that the guy can't, hit back. And I said, don't dream about that. Start dreaming about being the guy who always hits it back.
Right.
And I think sometimes I worry that guys are like, "Oh, he's not aggressive enough, and he doesn't want us to be great players." That's not it at all. It's what you guys talked about before. We just want to be sound. We want to be super, super solid. And baseball is, not every game is the same. And baseball is a game that more often than not, the game is lost. The game is not won. One team screws up and they lose. And so what we want to be, and it's not lacking aggression, we just don't want to be the team that screws up, plain and simple. But man, you better be pretty aggressive in terms of your thought process and the way that you approach certain things if you're going to be able to be that sound and solid person. So I don't know if guys get that or not. I think that one of the things that I'm sure we do a better job of as a coaching staff now than we did, say, even 10 years ago, is really trying to demonstrate to you guys. So how I get the board out and I kind of say, okay, when we do these things, we win. And when we don't do these things, we lose. And look at the numbers. And so I do that because I think in today's world, maybe when Vince Lombardi was coaching and that kind of thing, if the coach said it, you just believed it and you did it. I don't think we live in that era anymore. I think we live in an era where when the coach says something, guys go, "Well, I don't know. I need to think about that, or that's different, or that, So my thought about that is I'm going to share with the guys why I believe this. Why am I convinced this is the right way to go? And if I can share that with you guys and you go, "Oh, I get where he's coming from," you're much more likely to buy into that. So my effort is to not just say to guys, "Do this because I said so," although I am tempted to say that. I want to show you how I got to this point so that you would get to the point as well, and it becomes a we thing. And you guys, I say this, I don't say it every year, but I do think that this is an important concept, and this is important for young people as they get older. I've said to the team at times, "Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my way is the only way. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my way is the right way. There might be somebody out there that actually has a better plan than I do. It's certainly possible, right? But here's the deal. I am the person who's going to make the final decision." That's what head coach means. There might be lots of options, but the head coach ultimately makes a decision. What we go with might not have even been my idea, but it's my responsibility to say, ultimately, this is what we're going to do. Our chance to win goes way up if the people around me go, "Now that that's the decision, I'm backing it." Our chance to win is way better than, because you guys have been on enough teams and enough situations where sometimes people go, "Well, I don't know, I don't like that we're doing that." Well, your chance to win just went down. And so I think, I got great advice once, and that was, as an assistant coach, I was given this advice. Find out what the head coach wants and get that done.
Get it done.
And I think there's value in that. And, you guys know we have conversations, right? Sometimes I'll come out to the mound and say, "Well, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to run here?" And so our players have a lot of input into what we do. But once a decision is made, we need everybody to get on board. So I think there's a combination of me helping the guys see why I've come to the philosophy I have so that they understand it, and they might themselves go, "This makes a lot of sense. This is the right way to approach it." But then at the same time, also teaching that whatever the decision is, whether it's the same as you would have done or different than you would have done, once it's made, let's all just get on board there, because ultimately we want to be successful. And if you're successful, there's a lot of credit to go around. Everybody played a part in the success that you had.
I was actually having a conversation similar to that with a teammate. I'm not going to name any names, but I guess I can tell you off the air. But, just kind of talking about roles on the team. And someone might be able to say to me, well, Jordan, that's easy for you to say. But the truth of the matter is that when success happens, there's so much credit that's due, because if you're not a guy that plays as much, you have so many opportunities to go and contribute. And obviously Wenz was a big example of that. But let's say, like, you know, guys on our team, there's so many ways. I mean, you can, like, help somebody with swing decisions and show them, like, hey, this is what pitches are coming. Or I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just saying, like, there are too many people in this generation, and it's not a coaching thing. It's a personal decision thing of saying to myself, well, I'm not playing, so I don't care. Yeah. It has to be, we're all here together. We're all, like, this is the way I think of it, is that so many of us have come from all over the place just to get here. And all of that's irrelevant now because we're here. So let's just do everything we can to help achieve a common goal, because that's what's going to help you in the long run.
One of my favorite Beloit College baseball stories, okay, is about a guy named Tyler Peacock. Okay, Tyler just got married a handful of weeks ago in Mexico.
Oh.
Coach Caveney went. Coach Colby went.
I heard
all the guys on the team, you know, were there. That group was all there. And Tyler went to everybody's wedding. He was like the last guy. Well, Golby's the last guy.
Yeah.
But other than Golby, Tyler was like the last guy in the group to get married, kind of. But Tyler is from California, and so he flew out here for all these weddings. He was there for all of his friends, and that's a testament to, you know, the friendships in our program and the whole thing. But when Tyler was a senior and Coach Caveney was a senior, Tyler was a catcher on the team, and he, at a time in his career, he had been a starter. But a new guy had come into the program, a younger guy who was really special, and he had become our number one catcher, and so Tyler had kind of gotten demoted. So here we are in the championship game. Tyler's not playing, and it's his senior year, and it would be really easy to be hurting and kind of feeling sorry for yourself, but not Tyler, right? He's energetic, he's up, he's into it. I remember telling the whole team, which I often do, the ground rules, particularly if there was something that was a little bit weird.
Right.
There was a little bit of a weird ground rule on this field. It was an AstroTurf field, and the bullpens were way down in the corner, okay? And there was a strip that was about maybe a foot and a half long that ran the length. It was kind of parallel to the baseline.
Yeah.
And it separated the field from the bullpen. So there was no fence. It was just this line of cement. So you had the AstroTurf on the inside of it was the field, and the outside of it was the bullpen. And one of the ground rules was if a ball crossed that line and got into the bullpen, it was dead. Book rule double.
Oh.
So the dugouts and everything was a little bit weird. A guy hits a ball down the line, just fair, and a run scores. A guy from first scored, and the hitter goes all the way to third. Oh, and Tyler comes running over. He's not in the game. Comes running over to me and goes, "Coach, that should be a ground rule double. That ball went in the bullpen. That ball went in the bullpen." So I'm like, okay. So I walk out, called time, had the umps come over, and I said, "Hey, you know, I didn't see it, but one of the players said that ball clearly went into the bullpen. Would you guys get together to talk about it?" And so they said, "Yeah, we'll get together." So they get together, and they said, "Yep, it did. It crossed. That should be a ground rule double." They should have noticed it right away, but, you know, they didn't notice it. Thankfully, Tyler was paying attention. They take a run off the board. They put the hitter back to second and the guy who scored back to third. We get the next out and get out of the inning and win the conference championship in a close game.
That's crazy.
That was a momentum thing,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? The whole thing could have turned differently. And so Tyler, who wasn't in the game, made one of the biggest plays that helped us win a championship.
Yeah.
And that was about character.
Yeah.
That was about team first. And so there were some dudes that made some great plays in that game that I don't remember.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes those games are so pressure-filled and emotional that you only remember a few things. But I'll never forget what Tyler did.
Yeah.
And so that's an example of what somebody can do even when they're not physically in the game.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if this is even related, but, like, something I'll never forget is, like, every guy's first home run. It's just magical.
I remember Brocho's first game.
Yeah.
I remember it too.
It's just, like, such a feeling that you just can't quite, like, I was so lucky because mine happened in, like, you know, my first career game at Beloit, which is so, like, is already a special thing just to have your first career game be a win, and just how cold it was and everything. And it's just like it's just that one, like, when you find out that you don't give high fives, like, around third base. Yeah. It's like, I found that out. I was like, okay. It's just like, just like the smile you see on someone is just like you just can't quite.
You know why
it.
I don't give high fives?
Well, yeah, I always want to know. So yeah.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, I had to have shoulder surgery.
Okay.
And on my throwing shoulder, and I think it was just damage built up over years and years and years of throwing, and it hurt so bad. And it hurt for like 6 years before I had the surgery.
Yeah.
And then it really blew up, and it was like, I got to do something, right?
Yeah.
So I went through the whole process and found out what was wrong, and then they fixed it. Mm-hmm. But you guys smashed my hand so hard, and for all those years of having a bad shoulder, every time a guy hit a home run and they're giving me this huge high five, so I just stand back. I'm as far away from it as I can get. And I'm saying, hey, good job, but not close enough to slap five with. So that's how that started, and now it's just the way it is.
I remember, running by you, and I don't even think you said anything. I was like, okay.
Yeah, for mine, I just remember rounding third and seeing Riley almost on the field, and so you were just like, get off the field.
Yeah, you guys are going crazy.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
But yeah, it's like times like that, you just like don't really forget. And we're playing a game that's so hard that it's like when someone has success like that, it's just like, it's awesome.
Well, and maybe because I never hit a home run.
You never hit a home run?
Never hit a home run. Maybe I'm not truly celebrating. I don't. I'm joking. But I'm not joking about the no home run. I never.
I
hit a
know.
home run.
It's just like, man. It's like if anyone can do anything in college baseball, it's like just like that one is unforgettable.
I wish I had. I like, I mean, that when you hit that golf ball and it's just pure and you're like, ooh, I crushed that. It's got to be a similar feeling. But, as a home run, the ball goes out of the yard and you get to run all the way around the bases.
Right.
And
it's just like the adrenaline.
It's got to be a great feeling.
The adrenaline is so high that, like, sometimes, like, you don't even know that you hit it.
Yeah.
You're just, like, up there trying to do a job, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, shoot. That might go.
It must be cool for those guys in the big leagues, and of course, like Brett Kiger, that you hit it and you can kind of stand there and admire it, right? Because you just you've hit enough of them, that for a normal person, you're hauling because you got to get a double, maybe a triple, and then it goes out of the yard.
I remember Brody going.
Yeah, I rounded first and saw the umpire going like this. I was like, no.
I know.
Well, but then you validated it by hitting another one later in the year, and both were huge hits that helped us win games.
Yeah.
I remember hitting that one at, was it Ripon?
Yeah.
And then, like 2 innings later, Wood hit one, like, over the building in left field, and I was like, well, mine doesn't count anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, Wood hit some mammos.
Yeah. He's strong.
Yeah. Yeah, he sure is. All right, well, we've got an hour, so. Yeah.
Already?
No, that's about all we need. So, all right, let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah, it's perfect. Thanks for having us, or thanks for coming on to the podcast.
It was great. Like I said, long-time listener, first-time guest. It was great to be here with you guys. I'm really proud of you. It's a great show, and you're doing a great job, and I'm thrilled to be here and share this time with you.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to have you on again.
Yeah, we'll get you a part 2. Yeah. Conference championship number 4, and then we'll be right back here with shirts on.
Yeah.
All right, listeners, we'll see you guys later.